All right, everyone, I want you to stand up right now. Take out your phones. Take a selfie with your neighbor. It's time to get social.
Welcome to the 8th Amazing Race 28 recap episode of the URT Number podcast from Reality TV Warriors. My name is Michael Harmstone, and joining me as ever is the Canadian who is learning to ride a bike for the sole purpose of raising camels, Logan Saunders.
Afternoon.
And Ben was supposed to be joining us, but it's like 6:30 for him when we're recording it, so Ben might join us, we don't know. And just like the Bedouin camp, girls are exiled from this podcast, so Michelle can't join us either.
Oh, yeah, that's right. She's currently just slightly outside of the tent for this podcast. She's not allowed to be in here.
Yeah, she can't rub noses with us.
Yeah, I'm sure she was really disappointed that she couldn't rub our noses.
And that will get clipped.
Oh.
I feel like this episode was a slight step down from last week, but it was still a pretty good episode.
Yeah, compared to how crappy the episodes were before last week, I would say this one holds up pretty dang well.
So, previously, 7 teams continued racing from Yerevan, Armenia to Tbilisi in Georgia. The detour drew blood, but Dana nearly did too when her taxi driver took them 2 hours off course. At the roadblock, Ashley danced her way to the top, but a mistake finding the pit stop gave Zach and Rachel the win. Scott and Blair and Tyler and Corey raced for 6th place, and it all ended in tears as Scott and Blair became the 5th team eliminated from the race. And teams must now fly to Dubai and find a Bedouin camp to find their roaming gnome and their next clue. And it's for the first time in exactly 2 seasons, actually, it's a self-drive leg.
About freaking time. 2 seasons we waited for this.
And they weren't even Ford cars.
Jeep. Yeah, actually, I'm not sure you probably wouldn't have access to the same episode feed that I got to see on TV last night. But right before the commercial break, there was an extended clip like within the episode that was essentially a Jeep commercial and Jeep partnering up with the Amazing Race. And then it was followed, and then the first commercial in the commercial break, I believe, was a Travelocity commercial, and then they had like another like roaming gnome commercial later on as well. So it was just Travelocity and Jeep for the whole episode, pretty much.
To be fair, if you were going to win a car on the Amazing Race, you'd probably want it to be a Jeep rather than a Ford.
Mm-hmm. But they don't even get to win the Jeep. It's just I know we're skipping far ahead, but Jeep didn't want to put up an actual prize for this. Like, Travelocity had to do all the work with their gnome. In fact, when the gnome appeared on the last self-drive leg, that was Ford combined with the Travelocity roaming gnome as well.
It was, and I think that was the last appearance of the roaming gnome. I don't seem to remember the roaming gnome appearing in 27.
He was in the form of a smartphone app.
Oh yeah, he was, wasn't he? And because Cole is only 19 years old, Sherry has to do all the driving.
He's like me, where I'm 24 and I don't have a driver's license. So anytime I have to go anywhere by car, everyone else has to drive me around.
And this is getting quite personal, but I have failed a few times. I have done my test a few times. And sadly, the area I live in is one of the lowest pass rates in the country, at 38%.
Oh, so you'd be like the people that are judging your driving ability would probably be as tough on you as a dancing instructor in one of the Amazing Race Canada tasks. 17th attempt, 18th attempt.
In fact, the last time, I shouldn't have failed. He was just being a bit too picky. I drove well enough to pass, and I should have passed last time. So I'm a little bit pissed off.
You should find a person in Manchester where the driving instructor has just smoked weed a few hours earlier, so he's just really sedated and just very agreeable.
What I'm going to do next time is wear a low-cut top.
Okay, yeah, that would work too. That would, that's the 38%.
Just accidentally get the knee instead of the gear stick. Oh, sorry about that. I'd like to say I came up with these jokes, but someone at work did suggest them to me when we discussed my failures on driving test in the past.
So yeah, you have to find out which instructor is the most responsible for the 38% passing rate and just book your appointment with him or her.
I've got another one booked, but I'm not telling anyone when.
What else was? Oh yeah, if I was on the Amazing Race with my mother, this round would be difficult because neither of us have a driver's license. So there'd be so many penalties right there.
Don't you have to have a driving license on the Amazing Race? I think the only reason Cole couldn't drive is because you have to be 21 in Dubai for the insurance reasons.
I think there's been other cases though where somebody hasn't had a driver's license and they've been able to go on the Amazing Race.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And Sherry and Cole missed their turning and put themselves in last.
And very early on, that was like pretty much right near the start of the leg. Like they probably were only like 10 feet outside the Dubai airport and they were already lost.
Yeah, apparently they only have a one-lane highway in their town with a flashing light, always flashing yellow.
Yeah, and at the end, attached to that light is a bunch of dry gravy that's been there for years.
And then the first controversy of the leg, the fact that girls aren't allowed in the camp.
No, it's a dude ranch out there.
Which begs the question, what would have happened had there still been a female-female team in?
Well, maybe production didn't even consider that as a possibility. Maybe they were just they set their expectations that low for this season, which is kind of a jerk move on their part. They just had zero faith in Aaron and Jocelyn, Jessica and Brittany, or Marty and Hagen. Or Hagen. Hagen. Let's go with Hagen.
Hagen, you want some cookies?
But if they did make it in, then producers would have altered it somehow and been like, oh, you two are stuck outside. We can't give you this clue. So yeah, you're just gonna have to sit out there as every team passes you. Even David and Mary are gonna pass you during this task.
Maybe they would have had to play some sort of skill game, like trying to hook a gnome.
Oh yeah, they could have. They would have to use like a grappling hook from outside of the tent to reel the gnome in without setting foot on the premises of the camp.
Yeah, either some sort of survivor challenge where they have to grappling hook puzzle bags, or some sort of 4x odd or Crystal Maze style challenge.
Jessica and Brittany win a gnome and their next clue.
Everyone's a winner!
It comes with all the fixins, which here is it's just sand, just lots and lots of sand and camel milk.
So once teams get the clue from the Bedouin camp, it's a detour, which is Oasis or races. And in Oasis, teams must travel to Manchester in the UK and meet the band Oasis to get their next clue.
Yes, this episode was our Wonderwall, minus the sad clowns.
Don't look back in Angelo. So you can't beat me on Oasis pun-offs, I'm sorry. In Oasis, teams must lead 4 camels on a marked path on about a mile before finding the Oasis and a surprise that is at least 50% more awesome than most of the date nights from season 26, as well as getting their next clue. And in races, teams must race against 2 camels over a 2-kilometre course whilst riding bikes. If they win the race, they get the next clue, and if they don't, they get a 500-metre head start. And I've not asked this for a while. Which detour would you have done?
Well, after I learned how to ride a bike, which I'm supposed to do the past couple weeks, but my brother hasn't brought over his bike for me to use. But if I knew how to ride a bike, I would be choosing the bike detour. But if it was like Logan Saunders in April of 2016 having to choose between this detour, then by default I would pretty much be dragging those camels across the desert. It would be very Lawrence of Arabia for me, which would be kind of awesome. I feel like Charles and Myrna, but instead of being being on top of the animal. I'm just stuck dragging it, and hopefully it doesn't kick me in the crotch like it did to Mike from season 26, or just completely drag it for 100 meters like it did with Sam and Vince, which was also a United Arab Emirates leg, if I'm not mistaken.
See, I'm kind of biased here because literally about an hour and a quarter before we recorded this, I pedalled home from work and I was thinking about this on the bike. If I got the clue that said Oasis or Races and saw that there was a task that involved racing camels on a bike, regardless of the length that you had to go to get it, there would not be a chance in hell I'd do that because I know my limits. I've just pedalled nearly 6 kilometres. There is no way I could have beaten camels over that. 2 kilometres is a long way. And I asked Sherry this before to see if she knew how fast those camels were. Those camels were bucking it. And I am not wonderful at sprinting anyway. There's no way I could have got up to like 20, 30 miles an hour consistently over 2 kilometres. I would have been absolutely pooped. Especially in the Dubai heat, which I'm guessing would have been about 35, 40 degrees.
Yeah, at least.
So I would have gone for Oasis just because I would have thought there's no way in hell I can bike that long. 2Ks would be about 6, 7 minutes for me, I reckon.
Yeah, like I run 2 kilometers, and yeah, it's only about, and this is like running up and down steep hills, which is what I love to do for several kilometers at a time. And I think 2 kilometers just running is takes me about, I think it's about 11 minutes if I'm going pretty fast, 11 or 12 minutes, and that's in hills. So yeah, your math sounds about right.
Yeah, mine's in hills as well, so maybe I would be better on a flat because it looked like it was 2Ks flat, but I highly doubt that I could have beaten camels over that distance.
I don't think there should have been that head start, though, after you lose the first attempt.
I don't think anyone would have got it other than Kurt and Brody, honestly, because those guys are kind of, by default, are professional athletes, in quotes, this season. And if they couldn't get it, no one can, I don't think.
You know what they should have done at the end of the task is they should have done a trick shot where while the camel is running, they throw the frisbee to the camel and see if the camel's able to catch it in its mouth.
To get their next clue.
To get their next clue, yeah. Or just for another express pass, because they might need they need another one now.
Holy shiitake mushrooms. I've just Googled how fast camels can run. It's 65 kilometers an hour. That is fast.
Yeah, I mean, when they kick you, you really feel it. Like those are quick legs that are just coming right into your face, pretty much.
They can run at speeds of up to 65 kilometers an hour in short sprints and can maintain a speed of 40 kilometers an hour for an hour. Jeepers.
In the desert, no less. Like if Caleb from Survivor was pitted against the camel, like Caleb's corpse is going to be there for a long time, and the camel is just going to be way off in the distance.
So Kurt and Brody managed to get bogged on their way out from the camp.
Yes, they did. Their quads were burning quads.
I am very surprised that they were the only ones who we saw that happen to.
Well, I think they were just really pushing it as far as they could possibly go, while somebody like, say, Rachel was probably holding back a bit in the biking. Well, Rachel has a fear of going fast on a bike, so naturally she's not going to be able to keep up with the camel because the camel does not have that same fear. It would have been great, though, to see Usain Bolt, though, try to race those camels. That would have been competitive. You know what they should have done in the video game, the World Track Meet for the NES with the power pad, is that when you do go through the tournament mode, you compete against various animals. They're personified with a human racer, but like each human racer is named like horse or turtle or bear, and it's just all it is just depending on the name of the person you're racing, it's equivalent to how fast that animal goes. So the guy named Bear isn't that fast, or, well, Turtle's the slowest. But during that game, you never race against somebody that's named Camel, so I think they need to make that addition if they ever remake that game in the future.
And if Leonardo DiCaprio was playing that game, he'd be very wary of the guy called Bear.
Yeah, like by the end of the hurdles, DiCaprio's face will be completely gone. Oh yeah, I wanted to go back to something at the start of the leg. Wasn't it weird that all the teams were just waiting on an amphitheater together, and that they essentially carried over Scott and Blair's farewell to over 2 episodes by showing Brody hugging the eliminated team?
Yeah, I think we kind of all knew that something was going to happen like that.
It's like it's kind of funny though, because anybody that's in the know knows that this relationship didn't even exist, was already like done over and done with before the season started airing on TV. So it's funny that producers are trying to draw it out as much as they possibly can, while those of us at home are like, well, what's the point of seeing this? We know this doesn't actually symbolize anything. It's not like there's going to be the Amazing Race a celebrity China twist where a team is going to be brought back after being eliminated in the second round at the end of the season. Like they're irrelevant now to the storyline.
It was so awkward, them including confessionals from Brody saying, I want a trip so I can go away with Blair. And it's just like, dude. And now you guys are just perfect as friends, as Blair put it in her exit interviews.
Yeah.
You guys really aren't going to Helsinki for a couples massage together, I'm sorry.
There's no spa.
Having said that, there have been a lot of massage prizes this year, or this season.
Massage and spa.
I know I like to get Michelle to say the word spa as Phil, but this is like at least 3 in a row that he's included a massage in there.
It's all they have left to offer in their budget. It's like, you can't do snorkeling, you can't do skydiving, you can't do anything else on these trips, but we can keep the spas and massage. Actually, my coworkers, they're just in Peru on vacation, and they had like a tour guide with them after they went through a few days in Machu Picchu, and the tour guide with them was like, oh yeah, there's this place here that's like I don't know, some spa and massage building, and they found out that it was cost over $400 there for a massage, and my coworkers were asking him, oh, why does it cost so much? And the tour guide, with a completely straight face, answered with, oh, happy ending. That's why it costs $400.
I was going to say, I'm going to guess that massage parlors in Peru are slightly different to the massage parlors in Thailand, for example.
What they need to include that though on the next Travelocity spa and massage trip, where Phil is like, you get to have a spa, you get to you get breakfast in bed, and you get a massage that comes with a happy ending.
Maybe we should save that for fake podcast number 4. Make sure an all-male team wins it.
It'll be like that scene from the TV show Weeds come in real life.
Come in real life.
Damn it, Michael. A pun wasn't intended. This isn't Knocked Up or another Judd Apatow film.
We're veering towards Gilbert Gottfried levels again now. So Zach and Rachel missed the camel race turn and have to go a couple of Ks in the wrong direction. And this was just a breakout episode for Matt and Dana for me. I mean, Matt talking to the camels like they were dogs were awesome.
Yeah, they were both doing that at the beginning. We're like, how are you doing? Oh, do you need a belly rub? Can I take you out for a walk? Like, it was just hilarious and adorable. While those of us who have watched The Amazing Race for years and years know that the camel is probably the biggest bully and biggest jackass of any animal that you have to work with on The Amazing Race, right next to, probably right up there with being nature's jerks along with the llamas.
Good boy. You want a treat?
Is that supposed to be an Emperor's New Groove reference?
Not deliberately.
Oh.
So, Bernie and Ashley and Zach and Rachel both decide to switch to Oasis, which is probably the correct decision.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone other than Kurt and Brody were going to get the races on the first try.
It was kind of hilarious though with Zach and Rachel's back and forth on the bicycle, where he's like, "Oh, you have to go faster, Rachel," and then she says, "Oh, I can't go any faster. I have a fear of riding fast on the bicycle." He said, "Oh, why didn't you tell me this earlier?" And then her response with, "I did tell you. I said I wasn't comfortable with doing this side of the detour." Well, saying you're not comfortable with this doesn't equate to I am too scared to ride fast on this bicycle and therefore will have 0% chance of completing this task.
It's oddly specific fear, that.
It's right up there with wooden popsicle sticks from Shala and Nabila.
Exactly what I was going to say. I'm still convinced that we need to do a pre-season talk bio podcast where we just go through what our bios would be. I think that could be quite funny.
I think I have to have a fear of riding too fast on bicycles, while in the showdown with the camel will have to be next on the list.
If nothing else, I think it'll be just chock full of Shala and Nabila references, so...
There's a reason why neither of them have a presence on Twitter. It's because of people like us. But seriously, though, I get why Rachel attempted this detour because Zach wanted to do it and she wanted to be supportive of that. But she may have wanted to disclose that information at the beginning, or maybe she wasn't aware of how fast the camels would move. Maybe she thought like the camels, maybe some of them would have a limp, or be like baby camels that are just learning how to run. So you never know, but I think about 10 seconds in, she did probably own up to her not making the best decision, or not, completing her thought process aloud.
I think there's a time and a place to get over your fears on The Amazing Race, and I'm not sure sprinting for what would have been about 4.5, 5 minutes non-stop on a bike in like 35-degree weather is not a good way to get over your fear.
It's not like a fear of heights where it's like, oh, well, it's where there's no margin of performance to set you apart, where all you have to do is say, oh, I have a fear of heights, but all I have to do is just jump off this ledge and I complete the task. With this one, it's very involved and demanding, where you would have to put 100% focus into not thinking about your fear whatsoever. So this was like the worst possible task to attempt if you have that fear.
I think this is one of the most difficult animal-related tasks we've ever seen.
Nathan and Jennifer with a donkey may or may not disagree with you.
That's why I said one of.
Yes. Or as I mentioned earlier, Sam and Vince with that camel was just, that was one for the ages.
Or Mike and Rochelle with the African animals, as you mentioned earlier.
Oh yeah, the zebra. It wasn't a camel, it was a zebra. A yellow camel looks the same as a black and white zebra to me.
Listen, Logan, I'm colorblind, okay?
Right. That's right too. The only distinguishing feature would be the hump.
You're discriminating against me.
Sorry.
Typical Canadian. So Kurt and Brody are the first to leave races, with Tyler and Corey in second, with Dana and Matt leaving Oasis in third, Bernie and Ashley leaving Oasis in fourth, second Rachel in fifth, and Sherry and Cole leaving races in sixth. And teams must now drive to the Aquaventure at Atlantis the Palm, the site of Micah's breakdown from season 15, to find their next clue.
Did you notice that after Bernie and Ashley completed a detour, that Ashley nearly cheese grated it in the Jeep? One that would have been great for a first-time Jeep sponsor. It's like, man, we've had Ford for years and years, and then it's like a Jeep comes in. It's like, oh man, I can't wait to have this one episode of our product being featured on The Amazing Race. And then Ashley pulls the old cheese grating vomit effect all inside of the Jeep. That would have been classic. That would have been a highlight for the season. And Jeep would have never ever sponsored The Amazing Race again.
I can't remember who I was talking to over the past week about sponsors dropping out because of them not enjoying how their products were used on The Amazing Race. Because we have the infamous Royal Caribbean one with 3 teams in season 4 all getting a Caribbean cruise on the first leg. We have the Ford dropping out, thanks Bergen and Kurt. We've had no mention of Fitbit, so I'm assuming they're pissed off at something.
Oh, because Tyler spat all over those potatoes and that was during the same episode. Fitbit didn't want to be associated with controversy.
They came back for season 27.
Oh yeah, they did. What round was that with Fitbit?
It was the Netherlands one because Justin and Diana won like 32 grand for their combined steps.
Oh, maybe it's just broke the bank for Fitbit, and their product hasn't been doing as well. And just any price they offer after that will just seem really lame.
Yeah. But sponsors dropping out is one of the most hilarious things about The Amazing Race because it's usually due to some sort of controversy.
It'd be funny though if they took it out of Ashley and Bernie's prize money though. Ashley bombed it all inside of the brand new 2017 Jeep Cherokee. Oh,
well,
we has to be cleaned and everything sterilized. This is just the worst. And you cheese grated it. You didn't have to cover your mouth. Well, now your hand is disgusting, so everything you touched, we have to sterilize as well.
Well, hotels have a cleaning clause in their contracts when you check in. It's just the same thing.
Right.
So once teams get to Aquaventure, it's a roadblock, which is who wants to take the bait. And in this roadblock, one team member must swim into a tank of sharks and pick up a puzzle before solving it on the surface. To add to the fun, both team members have to wear revealing swimsuits for the remainder of the leg, basically. And it's Brody, Bernie, Dana, Corey, Zach, and Cole doing this roadblock.
Yeah, as they say, it's Kurt and Brody and the sequel to Austin Powers Goldmember.
For the record, if we were a team on this race, you would have so done this roadblock because there is no way I could have solved that puzzle. I get so frustrated at those sort of puzzles.
At least it wasn't a slide puzzle.
Oh god, I hate those.
I mean, it was a puzzle right next to a slide, but it wasn't itself not a slide puzzle.
I hate those sort of puzzles almost as much as I hate slide puzzles.
Oh, did we talk about Dana and Matt's meltdown during the detour?
Well, Dana and Matt's meltdown came on the way to the pit stop.
That other meltdown, but the first one was sort of on the way to the detour when they're leading the camels, and Dana makes fun of Matt for wearing flannel next to a camel.
Oh yeah, I didn't write any notes about that because she'd actually done the joke on Facebook herself. Yeah,
and then she was all like, "Stop acting like you're not struggling. You're just annoying. How are you not hot?" Well, I guess I'm a little warm. You're a little warm? You're wearing a freaking flannel in the desert. That was just so hilarious that they were arguing about Matt not being that hot while in the middle of the desert.
Yeah, he wasn't just wearing a flannel. He was wearing all black clothing otherwise.
Yeah, and then he's pointing out, the camel is wearing a blanket, and you're not yelling at the camel for it not complaining about being hot.
I would have been roasting. I would have died.
Oh yeah, your British pale skin would have just been.
I would have fried.
I remember just even us walking around Vancouver a little over 30 degrees, and you guys are pretty much melting.
Yeah, to be fair, that was because we'd come from 3 degrees in Jasper. We'd got off the train after 20 hours, and it was about 25 degrees warmer in Vancouver than it was in Jasper. We'd had snow for the past week, for goodness sake.
And I think we walked a bit further than Dana and Matt did around Vancouver in your guys' defense.
It's a real shame I didn't have my smartwatch then to tell me how many steps we did, but it was a ton. It was a lot of steps.
Meanwhile, on a regular basis each summer, I run outside for several kilometers in 40 degrees Celsius heat.
I pedal my bike in the week of warmth that we get in short sleeves and shorts, and that's about as good as it gets. So this roadblock was it was a better one to watch than it would have been to have to talk about because there really wasn't that much happening, but it was a cool visual roadblock. And it's the sort of thing you can only really do in Dubai.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can do it in Australia too.
Yeah, we had, I think it was Kurt and Brody on the flight saying that they were going to be doing some crazy stuff because it was Dubai. And you kind of need to have some sort of weird task in Dubai every time they go there. Stuff like Ski Dubai, which is a favourite in every single Dubai visit.
Yeah, who knew producers wouldn't want to do a switchback to Ski Dubai, but instead do a switchback to one person quitting over a water slide.
Oh, I love I don't just love water slides, I love that moment because it's just a supreme troll.
I have like 40 screen caps, I think, from that scene on my computer.
It's so good. If Ben was here, he'd be complaining that Flight Time and Big Easy are awful, but they earned their all-star spot by just being a, a complete pair of trolls to Micah, basically.
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it, Micah. Don't do it. It's too dangerous.
It wasn't even that high though. It's only like 50 foot.
Yeah, like that's actually a funny moment too, is because they do the whole switchback, which I find it amusing that we get a switchback to the first season that did a switchback, which shows you how long The Amazing Race has been on TV. And the fact that that season is pretty much, well, as of next year, it'll be in the first half of the Amazing Race US timeline. And what else? Oh yeah, when Tyler and Corey were talking about, because it's long been established that Corey has been a huge fan of The Amazing Race for a very long time, and then they're talking about the slide like, oh man, yeah, wonder if we're gonna, we get to do this task right next to that slide, and then Tyler pipes in saying, that's the slide where they quit. It all ended over that slide, as if it was like this minor slide that no one can believe resulted in a team quitting The Amazing Race.
Yeah, it's a pretty minor slide,
especially compared it's almost really mean what production did to Micah in this situation. That they're, especially with Phil's wording too afterwards, after the roadblock is over, where he said, "It's this place is home to the leap of faith, where Micah quit the race in this unforgettable moment," and then 10 minutes later be saying, and something that's 10 times scarier than that puny little pathetic little slide is Poseidon's plunge. So Micah was really weak at The Amazing Race. And I'm thinking, Phil, you're just kicking Micah while she's down, 13 seasons later.
Yeah, I've just checked. The slide that Micah quit on was 90 foot high, which is nothing. I have done a 90-foot high slide. Done a few 90-foot high slides, actually. The one that I did that I was talking about last week is 120 foot high and gets up to about 60 miles an hour. So, in other words, suck on that, Micah.
Yeah, in the leap of faith, they had some sort of incline, so it wasn't straight down like the Poseidon's plunge, which seemed to be much higher up and a lot more steep.
It looks so much fun.
As somebody who has the infamous roller coaster face, even when watching it, I was feeling a bit dizzy just seeing teams have to do this roadblock.
I'm not going to lie, knowing your roller coaster face, I want to see you on a slide like that. I want you to go on a slide like that and just film it, please.
I would probably have a face that looks more terrified than Zach. In fact, my roller coaster face is more terrified than Zach's Poseidon's plunge face.
It looked so much fun. I was watching it thinking, I should really be making notes, but this slide looks so much fun. I want to have a go. It looks like the one redeeming thing in Dubai. I really want to have a go.
What really freaks me out, though, is that you don't know when that door is going to open. It's just completely random. Like, the guy controlling the button just gets to push it whenever he wants.
If you noticed, I watched a video of Poseidon's Revenge before actually watching the episode. I watched it a few days ago. If you notice, you could actually hear when Zach was in the tube that there is a 3, 2, 1 countdown. It's
there is.
Not as random as people think. There are some slides like that where it is as random as people think, and they literally just drop you when they think it's going to be funny. But that's not one of them by the sound of things.
Could you imagine, if Mike and Kanan had to approach the Poseidon's plunge, though? Especially if Mike could go, she would have to, as soon as she entered the tube, she wouldn't be able to get out. So as soon as she enters, if I wonder if Kanan would have been able to, with the slide, I mean, you get to, just not do it whenever you want, and you can be right there. All you have to do is just throw yourself through it. But with Poseidon's plunge, as soon as you're secure in that tube, there's no turning back.
They 100% should have done that. They should have invented that slide years ago just to do that to Micah.
Well, I wonder if that's when construction started, was the day after Micah quit the task on The Amazing Race, and then I got to the designers of the park and they thought, if The Amazing Race ever comes back, I have a brilliant idea for another water slide.
Weirdly, I think there is only one other amazing race that's actually been to Aquaventure, and that is Australia. Oh, has it actually? No, no. Australia went to Wild Wadi. So,
Oh, that's the one that the Wild Wadi was from Amazing Race 5, correct? With Jamera Scara or whatever it was called?
yeah, so no other amazing race has actually been to Aquaventure, which surprises me slightly.
Considering how big that place looks like it is.
Yeah,
You would
and
think that Aquaventure just trumps Wild Wadi.
yeah, the Atlantis to Palm is huge as well. That's the when you see the people skydiving over Dubai or the helicopter shots, that's the big thing that looks like a palm tree.
Hmm.
So I'm actually quite surprised. I didn't realise that. The other reason I know it's Wild Wadi is because there's one team in Amazing Race Australia too who wears the shirt from Wild Wadi in basically every leg after they go there.
You know what? You know what would be dangerous of skydiving now in Dubai is that you're bound to collide with one of the cranes. Like there's so many that 20% of the world's cranes are in Dubai. You're bound to collide with one of them, I would think. They're so high up.
I mean, Skydive Dubai is something that's happened a lot on Amazing Race. Even Amazing Race France did it.
Yeah, even the French skydived in Dubai, is what you're saying.
Even the French in their one season skydived in Dubai.
They found time to fit that into their very compact schedule.
Talking of one season wonders from France, apparently Kie Le Taupe isn't coming back for the foreseeable future. Originally, I was told that it was getting a second season, but apparently it's not now.
What's that?
Kie Le Taupe, French mole.
Oh yeah, that was just last year with this. There was only like 6 or 7 contestants, wasn't there?
There was 10 contestants and 6 episodes. Yeah, because it ended up being a final 4, but there were 5 left in the finale because they had an extra test in the finale.
That's a weird format. So they really wanted people to just have no idea who the mole is at the end.
Yeah, I'm slightly disappointed by that because it had promise. It wasn't as good as Dutch Mole, which you need to finish last season off so we can actually talk about it.
Yeah, I'm one episode in.
Have you still not watched any? Jeepers.
I lead a busy lifestyle. I've been playing Mega Man Legacy Collection. Leave me alone.
I've never been more disappointed in you, Logan.
Tonight, so I'll give you updates. You can start pestering me about watching Dutch Mole.
In fact, I demand live tweets. You need to tag me in every tweet that you do about Dutch Mole. That'll make you hold me to it.
And I'll be fluent in Dutch by the end of the season.
So yeah, Kurt and Brody use the express pass to leave in first. Bernie and Ashley leave in second, and Bernie doesn't tell Dana or Corey how to do it. Tyler and Corey leave in third, Zach and Rachel leave in fourth, and then we get the wonderful quote from Dana, which is that she's the sort of person to melt down. Oh, Dana, you're just foreshadowing now.
Yes. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. With the Dana and Matt's camel argument, too, is that one of the points of their argument is that the camels weren't sweating, and the gender of the camel also came into question. So I wonder if the camel wasn't sweating because the camel was female, and if I recall correctly, female camels glisten instead of sweat.
That is a good point.
Yeah, I thought that was worthy to be pointed out.
Thank you, Logan. And Dana and Matt leave in fifth, with Sherry and Cole leaving in last, and teams must now ride Poseidon's Revenge, a slide in the park that is twice the length of the Leap of Faith, which is the one that Micah did, to receive their next clue. And did you notice the music when Corey went down the slide?
No, was it the Harlem Globetrotters theme? I kind of missed it.
It was the classic Amazing Race theme sting, the one that they always used to play in old seasons.
Oh.
The sort of victory sting that they play every single time a team who they want us to like used to do something awesome.
Yeah, and now it's just replaced by abusing the cowboy theme 20 times.
And Rachel was the only one who we saw actually cover up the hideous gold swimsuit as well. Everyone else wore it loud and proud, and Rachel wore a vest over it.
Yeah, well, Dana was trying to cover up too, especially the one side of her chest. She was trying to cover up quite often. Unfortunately, she needed both hands to use the puzzle, so it was an ongoing struggle for her.
And with our first listener question, Mathoni says, Dana seemed uncomfortable with the swimsuit. Didn't she have an option to wear a t-shirt or vest like Rachel? And I'm assuming yes, but she probably thought, we're behind, I don't have time.
Yeah, I would think so too. Especially depending on where the change room was for the task, that she probably didn't want to backtrack that far.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could think of. And the one thing I have to say about this water slide task, despite the fact that I love water slides and water slides are awesome, is that Dana's slide face was just wonderful. Dana was an absolute
And
highlight.
Matt's taking a selfie of himself in the meantime. What Matt should have done is later on when they have their huge meltdown, is if in the middle of Dana yelling at him, is if he pulled out his selfie and said, "We gotta record this moment. We're, we only melt down like this once."
Dana, I'll stop you arguing by making you do a duck face. Duck face.
Yeah, and that's her just wearing the biggest scowl on her face and trying to do a duck lips at the same time, so it just looks really awkward.
And once teams complete the water slide, they have to now travel by Abra, no, not the Pokemon, to the Old Souk Station, the pit stop for this leg of the race. The last team to check in here may be eliminated.
How many times have I made that Abra Pokemon joke when they go to the Emirates?
So many times, which is why I thought I'd beat you to it this week.
Damn it! If only they could. It's funny they're like, "Oh, we're racing Abras to the pit stop," and then an actual Abra should have been like, I don't know, gliding along the water and just teleport to the pit stop. It's like, damn it, we lost this Abra race.
And then you may begin talking about the wonderful Dana and Matt meltdown.
Actually, what I first want to bring up is that I want to pose another detour to you, Michael. What would you have done? Would you have eaten the reggae bread or drink the camel milk?
Oh, probably the reggae bread, purely because I like my milk semi-skimmed. And if it's like whole milk, I'd be like, eek.
Yeah, because believe it or not, reggae bread, it was invented by one of Bob Marley's cousins, I believe.
It was by Levi Roots, wasn't it?
What's that?
It was by Levi Roots, the creator of reggae sauce. And the first big winner of the UK's Dragon's Den, which is known as Shark Tank in North America.
Oh yeah, I think you are right. He did invent that, and it was actually on America's next great invention reality show, where George Foreman served as one of the judges. And the reggae bread, with the what comes with the name, and I assume that there's something in that bread that would really help you relax for the remainder of the day. If only you know what you should do, Michael, actually, is when you do your driving test to, offer up some reggae bread to the instructor so he doesn't fail you for the 7th or 8th time.
So, 7th or 8th? You can sod off, it's only 6.
Six times, sorry. I failed my driving test 0 times. So
better to have tried than not try at all.
Philosophical difference. Agree to disagree, Michael.
You pussy.
What was funny with Kurt and Brody, though, during the roadblock is when Brody was initially in the water there, and Kurt's like, he's got a space hat on. And then somebody beside him should have been like, a space hat? Do you mean a helmet? He's wearing a helmet.
I love that every single task involved the roaming gnome dressing up at some point.
Yeah, it would be funny to see a shark, try to face off with the roaming gnome. Who wins? Who wins that battle? Does the camel trigger interference and the camel wins? I'd be curious.
Only on NBC. So yeah, this argument was interesting.
I have a feeling it went on for a while. I mean, it's funny because right before that, Brody has his borderline Happy Gilmore blow up with the puzzle, being like, "Oh, just get in your home," and then Dane and Matt have an argument, 2 minutes later, and it just increases Brody's blow up by like tenfold in terms of comparing the two meltdowns.
And Kurt Repchel had a comment about this. He said, "It looked like Dana had a camera in her hands while the team was lost. I believe that they had pictures of a map on it. Are they allowed to have cameras? I didn't think they were." And the answer to this is, I'm assuming it's the same rules as with 26. With 26, when they had the selfie cams, they also had a map of each place that they were self-driving on it. But they didn't have any locations marked on them. It didn't have, like, GPS directions. but it had a map on there. So I'm assuming it's the same rules because they do have selfie cams again.
But it was weird, though, that she was reading off of it and saying, like, it's a slight turn left, which is the directions you would find in, like, MapQuest or something like that.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming that was the only way out of Atlantis Palm, because I'm assuming it's at a dead end, having never been there, but...
No, she just says, no, make a full turn left, and they just crash into the side of Leap of Faith or something like that. It's an actual leap of faith with the Jeep
no, it's a
going
Jeep
off
of
of
faith.
a water slide into the water.
Jeep
Yes,
of faith.
Jeep
Jeep of faith. Missed opportunity for a pun there, Logan.
Damn it. Abras and now this? Getting tired of your bullshit, Michael.
So, Kurt and Brody are the first team to check in, and they win a trip for two from Travelocity to Helsinki, where I'm going in June. And they get a massage at the spa.
You know what's... we need to really reflect on how much of a game changer the Express Pass is, once again, on the Amazing Race. It made such a huge impact, like, oh man, what a twist that was. It really defined the season yet again.
I can sum it up in 3 letters. SFA, or Sweet FA. It makes no difference.
It makes no difference to me, like a Sum 41 song.
There is only one time I know that it has actually made any difference, and that is when we used it.
Yes, it's funny. The American version, like when Gary used the Express Pass in 18, and then, you can make the argument that for the Amazing Race 22, like the Express Pass made no difference, but in terms of the race, but it impacted the race in terms of having a great comedic moment. But other than those 1.5 instances, the Amazing Race US has benefited not at all from having the Express Pass twist, but yet when me and you play in an online version of the Amazing Race, we make a greater impact with the Express Pass than anyone else has in an actual real version. That's kind of hilarious.
We make a great decision on it, and no one else really has. It's made no difference whatsoever in the US version. Mm-hmm. And actually, has it made any difference in the international versions? I don't think it's saved any team that we've watched.
No, it hasn't. And it hasn't altered, like, the dynamic or relationships whatsoever either. Like some people say it has, but that's really just editing, and it hasn't. So, suck it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. It appeared in Australia 1, and I don't think it made any difference. It didn't appear in Australia 2. Australia 3 was a double Express Pass, so that sucks automatically.
And John and Murray used it within about 2 seconds of getting the Express Pass, I believe.
Yeah, and I think Carla and Hennedy used it to win a leg rather than save themselves.
Yeah.
And Canada, it's really made no difference either.
Yeah, like some people are saying, well, with Kristen and Darren Gollamy with one in their possession, but it's the same thing as with Jessica and Anders, where it's like, yeah, they didn't use it, but that means if the Express Pass wasn't there, then they would have been eliminated anyway. And then since then, and both those instances happened within like 4 months of each other, I think, on air, because the first Canadian season aired right after season 22.
Yep.
So ever since then, there has been zero. You can't make any argument whatsoever that the Express Pass has had any influence on any season of The Amazing Race. And that was 3 years ago when the Kristen and Darren incident happened.
And for the 3rd week on the trot, they're becoming Joey and Kelsey. It's Bernie and Ashley in 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler and Corey get shot down in 3rd. And Kurt has another question there. Do you think Phil really left Tyler hanging on the mat, or did he give him that Bedouin greeting that he wanted? Also, was Phil blushing?
I don't know. Phil sounds like a guy who seems like really nice and really awesome on TV, and when he's in his professional host racing mode. But maybe when you want him to do something fun with you as a person, maybe he does just leave you hanging and crush all your dreams. It's why you never meet your heroes.
So what you're saying is basically Phil is a tyrant. He rules the Amazing Race with an iron fist.
I have made too many jokes at Phil's expense over the years, and I don't know if I think the label of tyrant may be going too far.
And there was an Amazing Race Canada 2 flashback when Zach and Rachel checked in at the mat. They basically echoed Pierre and the Michelles in their mat chat.
Just not saying anything and it being and just saying bye.
5 words is how much they said on camera. 5.
Yes. They weren't really shown at all this round. Zach had that expression of terror on his face, and they had the argument over the bicycle, and they missed that one turn really early on, which was an insignificant moment for the episode. And that was it. That's all we saw from Zach and Rachel this round. It's like editors said, oh, here you guys go with completing a story arc for winning last round, but we have no other story to offer you. So this is it. You're now in Jeremy and Sandy mode until you get eliminated.
I know you put them in your editing analysis as the least likely to win this week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm officially ruling them out. Having said that, I'm officially ruling out another 4 teams on top of that in a minute, so, you know.
Before we get to that, it'd be funny with Poseidon's Plunge is if right next to it they have a tube that looks just like it, but instead of it leading into another plunge or water slide, you can be cryogenically frozen. So then Bernie really could have had been in his coffin all along if he just gone to the wrong one, because Corey was making a joke like, oh, Bernie, Bernie's in his coffin, but really if Bernie just got into another tube right beside it and he just ends up being frozen, then Corey would have been right.
Yeah, or he could have just done his own version of Futurama.
Yeah, and instead of being Bernie Burns, he could have been Frozy Froze.
So Dana and Matt are in 5th place, and Sherry and Cole, surprisingly, are in last. But it is the final non-elimination leg of the season, but they do have to face a speed bump when they go to Bali next week.
Another pointless speed bump on the way.
Yeah.
So I don't think we have too much to worry about.
And Sherry claims that she needs taxis, and I suspect that this will probably have been the only self-drive leg of the season, Sherry, so you're probably alright now.
It was actually funny seeing them try to self-drive throughout the episode. I know it comes at their expense, but my favorite part in particular was, I think it was after the detour when they were super lost, like they didn't even know if they were in the right city anymore, when Cole's supposed to be navigating the back, and then Sherry asks Cole, where are we? And then it's just an awkward pause of silence, and then Sherry's like, oh God, baby. Like, oh no, Cole's not responding, which means he has no idea where we are. We're screwed.
So, next time, teams are heading to Bali, oy vey, and there's snakes, kites, food, and water transporting, and one team will be eliminated.
Yes, because we burned through all 3 of our non-eliminations, which means unless we see that 2-time twist of having 4 teams at the end, every single team from now on, if they come in last, they're done.
And there's 2 points that we need to get to. One is probably my favourite question of the season, actually, from Michael Jenks, who says basically, ignore all the other predictable questions. Name your top 3 moments when the stress has gotten to a racer. I don't want to hear Rachel about the race being fun with my boyfriend. I want to know when players thought about stopping the race.
That's actually a really good question. I'm just going off the top of my head here, but, Micah, I hear, was stressed enough that she thought about quitting the Amazing Race, and she did. She succeeded.
We've not actually had that many teams saying they wanted to quit.
Not on air, because I almost think that editors of CBS reality shows in general over the past few years, that they know that if they mention somebody quitting, then they're just going to receive a huge amount of hate from the general audience. So they always try to soften up the quit as much as possible.
Yeah, I think Marshall and Lance has probably got to be up there because...
Yeah, with Lance, it wasn't so much that he was stressed. He didn't get all huffed up or anything. The stress was just in his knee. It was his knee that was stressed. They tried to go through as much as they could, and then even though as much as everyone hates Marshall and Lance during that season, I can't really consider them a quit, because it's sort of like the Dave and Connor situation, where it's like, did Dave and Connor really quit, or is it just because they were physically unable to continue? Like, it was a medevac. It's Amazing Race's version of a medevac.
Yeah, I'm quite vocally a fan of bickering teams, but quite often bickering teams don't turn into teams who say, "Oh, sod it, I'm quitting."
Which is what makes the Micah moment such a big deal to have a switchback to it, because that's the only time where somebody was just outright refused to do a task. When it's not like with Marshall and Lance where they were already in dead last and then they quit because the guy couldn't even move anymore. Like it took them like 40 minutes just to get across the Karnak Temple when they were in Luxor. But with Mike and Kanan, they were on pace to have their best finish yet in this season. And this is a team that didn't finish better than seventh up to that point, and they were gonna, make it to that next bit of the race. And she just quit right then and there.
And I believe they still have the record for the worst average of any team to finish in 7.
Yes. And so with the top 3 stressful moments, I want to say Flo has to be up there. She may occupy all top 3 spots, because there was the penultimate link.
The Geneva one with the slamming the bike helmet down comes to mind.
Oh, that is so memorable from my childhood. Just that whole round of her throwing the helmet down. And you have to remember that Amazing Race up to that point had never done non-elimination legs back to back before. Like the first 2 seasons was always a very strict 6-5-4-3 for non-elimination points. But in season 3, that was the first time they switched it up where it was 5-5-3. So when there's that second non-elimination in a row, the whole audience just went crazy and got angry over it, especially because it was the closest anybody had seen a racer wanting to quit the race over over just being stressed out over what had transpired up to that point.
And yeah, the Vietnam one, as you mentioned.
Yes. Well, there's 2 Vietnam ones, because there's that one detour where you have to be in that little boat thing and she couldn't paddle, and then Zach has to find a local to do it for them, I think it was. And then the train, as you mentioned, where she refused to get on a 24-hour train until Zach bumped them up to a nicer section of the train, I guess.
I think Flo has to occupy all 3, I'm sorry.
So let's determine who number 4 and 5 would be then.
Mike has got to be up there.
Yeah. That's the one thing that makes me uncomfortable with producers in that situation, because going into the race, Mike and Kanan, I don't think either of them were fans of the race at all or really had much of a grasp on it. They were both boosting their country music career at that time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And both were performing horribly up to that point. And there were several clips leading up to that task where Micah, even when they were in the boat, she was freaking out. She's like, "Oh, what if we tip over and land in the water?" Like she didn't even want to remotely touch the water at all. And then when they initially got to Dubai, when they went up to the top of that really tall building,
Burj Khalifa.
Wiz Khalifa, I think it's called, where she didn't even want to step foot into the building. Like there wasn't even a task up there that round. She was just scared enough just to be in that thing going up to the top. It's not like with Nat and Kat when Nat had to be on that shaky, rough gondola thing where it was like 100 years old and it could like plummet down to the earth at any moment.
I will co-sign that because I am perfectly fine with heights. But holy crap, I am not good with anything that is unstable. Like there's a roller coaster probably 45 minutes from my house at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, and I went on it with my friends, and it's about 120 years old, this roller coaster, and it's a wooden roller coaster. It's so rickety, and I was just sat there thinking, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. Why have you dragged me on this? I hate this. I do not feel safe. And about 2 weeks after I went on it, it crashed.
Jeez.
So I sent the article around going, told you so, you should not drag me on this. It was awful.
It sounds like the roller coaster at Trans Wonderland. Are you familiar with the Trans Wonderland roller coaster, Michael?
I am not now.
Well, I don't know if there's an actual roller coaster there, but there's an amusement park in Nigeria where it was one of their projects, I guess, where they wanted to build a big amusement park. And what happened is that the government just ran out of funding for the project, and they tried to build what they could. but it's just the crappiest rides and stuff, I guess, that you can pretty much imagine. And there's this one book I read where it was one of the central symbols in the book. And like people, I guess, still go there, but it was supposed to have this huge expectation as being this big wondrous project, and it lives up to about 0.01% of what the government promised it would be.
Yeah, I as soon as I saw the article, I just sent it round to all my friends going, I told you that it wasn't safe. Never drag me on that sort of ride again, please.
If only they used that on The Amazing Race.
Oh god, someone would die. So there's one more thing that I want to cover, and that is the winner's edit. And I spoke to Ben about this earlier, and he co-signs it, because we were going to discuss it and say you're wrong. But Dana and Matt are winning this season. 100%
What?
after this episode. I've
No.
I knew you'd say that. So I wrote 2 things down that we heard in the last 5 minutes of the episode. Number 1, when they checked in, Phil's exact phrase was, if you're going to win this race, you got to do it together. That sort of phrase never appears for a losing team. And then, straight after that, Dana had a redemption confessional, which is one of the biggest twigs of any winning edit. You cannot win without some sort of either redemption or positive edit. And Dana said, I want to be here just as much as he does. I love him and I don't ever want to treat him that way. And there's really no excuse, no matter how stressed you are. That is a textbook redemption confessional. That means, basically, that they're probably going to not fight as much. They might still fight, but they're not going to fight as much, and they're going to be quite competent and probably win the final leg. And I don't know the edgic or anything on this, so I don't know whether I'm right, but that's my theory.
But they never make a team look that negative ever in the past 15 seasons or so.
But I had this argument, I read it a few days ago. They've not actually made Dana look that bad. Yeah, they made her look bad this week, but up until the first 7 episodes, they didn't actually make Dana look that bad. Yeah, she's naggy, but so is Hayley. But they've had a better edit than Blair and Hayley did, because they've still had the, yeah, we fight a lot, but we're competent edit up to this point, and then they've had the massive redemption, I want to do better to help Matt win this race edit this week. If my theory is right, they had to show all that stuff to then be able to put this confessional in and explain why their attitude changes and why they win.
Or they just not show any of their bickering scenes at all if they were to win, and have the audience respect and like them all the way through.
But in a season like this, you need someone to pick up the quote-unquote villain mantle. I would never put Dana in the pantheon of villains, but yeah.
But I don't know what, it's just that Amazing Race doesn't edit a winning team like that anymore. When was the last negative edit we saw for in the US version of a team winning the Amazing Race? Like Freddie and Kendra?
Well, Tyler was douchey at times, Laura and Tyler. He never got to that level of negativity, but their winning edit was not a typical winning edit.
Yeah, but it was sort of middle of the road, though. They still had enough fans out there. With Dana and Matt, it's still super negative atmosphere out there. It didn't even matter that she owned up to it in the episode, saying, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. All the comments on social media and stuff is still oh, Dana's, this big horrible bitch, and all that other stuff that comes along with it.
In the same way that we pointed out in 25, Amy and Maya's winner's edit from the gym confessional, we've never seen a confessional from another team saying, oh, Dana's a bit of a bitch, which means they don't necessarily want us to think that.
But the audience is interpreting it that way. On the other hand, nobody's coming to Dana and Matt's defense either. That's actually a negative most of the time, is that none of the other teams are talking about them at all in their confessional. The only thing we've heard is Dana or Matt saying oh yeah, we're working with Tyler, and we've been working with Tyler and Corey on this task or that task. They don't really have a relationship with any of the other teams.
I'm pretty sure Tyler and Corey don't win because they're getting the we'll see you in season 30 for All Stars edit rather than the we win this season edit.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I don't think Tyler and Corey, even with how strong they start out the season, I've got a feeling they got to come up short somewhere.
And I don't feel like there's any winner contender edits other than Dana and Matt.
I don't know. Bernie and Ashley have been steady narrators, and Sherry and Cole have been shown having a relationship with pretty much every team this season. I know with Sherry and Cole, it's a bit of a long shot because
I was actually going to say this to Sherry, but I completely forgot. Sherry and Cole are very close to having the worst average of any team in the final 6 ever.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I was looking it up and I'm thinking, wow, after 8 rounds, there are 5 teams where nobody, I think Zach and Rachel have finished worse than 6th once, and nobody of the the 5 teams that are left, none of them have finished worse than 6 except for that one round with Zach and Rachel where they nearly lost to Cam and Darius, who were also high up in my winners edit rankings at the start of the season.
I have to point out, I'm making this argument about winners edit, and I have a much better reputation with winner edit picks than Logan does.
This season, in the long term, I've done very well, which is why I started this the editing analysis and predictions blog in the first place. But with Sherry and so there's 5 teams, 8 rounds, which means there's 40 placement spots between those 5 teams, and only 1 out of 40 has a team finishing lower than 6 all season long. And then Sherry and Cole have played 8 rounds, and there's been only 1 leg where they've done better than 6th place, and that was barely scraping by with a 5th place finish.
Yeah.
And their average, I believe, actually, even though they finished last this episode, it actually improves up to 6.87.
Well, they started the round at 7 dead and ended at 6.88.
Yeah.
And the worst average for any team who's made a final 6 and made a final 5 is 6.9.
Yeah, and that's the one team you guys keep referring to.
It is, and that is an awesome team, but we'll get there eventually. So, yeah, they are very, very close to having an all-time terrible average. But I don't think we'll see them go anytime soon.
Yeah, because Zach and Rachel have to go next week because they have no story left. No active storylines. Everyone else has something. They don't. And it'd be funny if Sherry and Cole just barely beat them out next round. I think that would be awesome. That whole meltdown with Dana and Matt, though, that was just hilarious. It was so quotable, too. I think I mentioned this ever since the start of the season, that Dana has to be one of the most quotable racers this season. Just with, the unintentional irony or dramatic irony and other stuff where, the past few rounds it's been about how Dana just can't get along with the taxi drivers, particularly last round. And then this episode, it's a self-drive leg, so she should be very much up for not having to deal with the taxi driver. But then it leads to her biggest meltdown yet of the season.
Basically, Dana can't get on with anyone who's driving a car for her.
Yes, she would only be able to get along with me, pretty much, at this point. Just all the quotes that were in that meltdown, saying stuff like, should I say left literally 10,000 times? Or I don't like feeling challenged, so I challenge back. Or just, she's like, I'm so disappointed in you, you're psychotic, and then, you're psychotic, you have something mentally wrong, stop this car, all within 10 seconds.
I gotta stop this car vixen flashbacks.
Yeah, stop the car, talk to those people. And then, there was one more that was great, I know I wrote it down here somewhere. Oh yeah, when they're finally reconciling, right before they get back into the car, where Matt's like, oh yeah, we're a team, and then, well, yeah, he says, we're a team, and then Dana says, no, we're not, and then follows it up by saying, can you handle letting me navigate, noting I am also lost? That's my favorite quote of the whole episode. Can you handle me directing you where to go when I have no idea where we are going? Can you handle that? Come on. How can you not be okay with this?
I mentioned this last week, but Dana is our required defendee this season. But Dana is awesome. Dana is living up to the legacy of Haley, who is basically the character that they've had closest to her.
Like that quote right there, it's sort of like if you've seen the movie Wedding Crashers. Yeah, there's that one quote where it's like, "You shut your mouth when you're talking to me." Well, like it's that type of humor where it's like, "Can you handle me letting me navigate, knowing I'm lost?"
I'm also lost.
And then in an unaired clip, which I don't think we mentioned, I guess there is an unaired scene where Dana asks Matt to switch roles so she could drive the car and he navigate, but Matt didn't want to give up the driver's seat.
So, is there anything else to say about this leg? Noting that we've said a lot about this leg and sort of more meta things as well.
I don't know. I was surprised that you know how it was a late check into the pit stop for Sherry and Cole? I was surprised that the race was allowed to go on that late because I could have sworn that would have been past Cole's bedtime.
Yeah, he has a curfew of 9 o'clock, guys.
And apparently so do the women in Dubai too, based on what we saw this episode. Oh, almost that was borderline. I don't know if I went too far with that upon reflection.
Do you want me to edit it out, Logan?
No, let's keep it in. Let's keep it in, and we can let the audience, like the listeners, judge. Was that joke at the very end of this podcast too much?
Do I need to have a poll on the Reality TV Warriors page? Did Logan go too far? Yes, no, Andrea.
I feel like that's a poll that can occur in every podcast. Maybe I'll do that. I should do that in my blog post. Be like, I pick out the most controversial joke of each episode, and just have everyone vote on whether or not I went too far or not. Or what was even better about Sherry and Cole at the pit stop too is when they reveal, oh yeah, you're not eliminated, and then they're trying to say all of this UFC promotional stuff of how they're gonna get back in the race, and then Cole's just so amped up that he ends up having his final statement be in ellipses where he's like flexing his muscles together and saying, "We want it," and I don't have anything else to say for the rest of the statement, but I'm so amped up. So it's just an ellipses as the end to the episode. It's like Michael Scott when they hire him back to Dunder Mifflin, where he's trying to say that the tables have turned, but instead he says the turntables have and then he just stops and he doesn't have anything more to add. That's kind of what Cole's rambling at the end of the episode reminded me of.
I loved Phil being a complete pain in the arse to them.
Yeah, he was as much of a pain in the ass as the letter R was to Dana during the roadblock.
I love that Phil's getting slightly sassy with teams now. After 28 seasons, he's just bored of their shit. And he can't help himself. He can't bite his tongue anymore. So he's just going,
well, he was even trying to egg on the greeter to trash talk them.
oh, you think you know everything? Well, you're wrong. You're not eliminated. Get out my sight.
Yeah, you know nothing.
Hashtag sass.
I wonder if Phil and the pit stop greeter rubbed noses. I mean, wouldn't that be insulting? He was like, Corey, no, I'm not going to rub noses with you, but I will with this guy.
Yeah, I will with my new best friend, so screw you guys. Ugh.
We're going to get on an Abra and sail off to the sunset together, Corey, so take that.
And if you're lucky, it'll become a cadabra. Leveled up,
Yeah.
bitches.
Yes. That's actually what happens if you rub noses on an Abra, is that it turns into a cadabra.
And then you have to trade it with another Emirati state to turn it into an Alakazam.
Yeah, you have to trade your Abra, or you have to trade your cadabra with an Abra in Qatar, and then it can evolve into an Alakazam.
So, thanks for listening to this URT Movie podcast. We will be back for episode 9 next week. If you've got any questions, feel free to contact us on our Facebook page, Reality TV Warriors, on our Twitter account, @RTV Warriors, or on our own Twitter account, @MJ Harmstone for me, and @Logsuperkawaki for Logan. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Hashtag Abra, hashtag rubbing noses, hashtag Dana Meltdown, hashtag Trans Wonderland, hashtag Jeep. Peace.
Peace out. A10.
Oh,